Hi everyone, it is Andrew from the Ibrox channel, a podcast. I hope you're all doing well or as well as it can be. I'm recording this a bit later this week. It is Saturday afternoon, and you know what? It is actually pitch black outside, and it's not even 5 o'clock yet. So, yeah, winter is definitely settling in, but I do hope you're all doing well, or as well as can be expected. So, yeah, we failed away from home once again. Yeah, I don't know how many away tests from home this season we are going to fail with, but we have done it once again. So we have failed at Tynecastle, Parkhead, and Rugby Park. Now we've added Pittodrie to the list. Yeah, it's not looking good, is it? So we'll go into the game a little bit. I'm not going to go too much in depth into the match because we all know what happened. We all saw it. We all watched it. And yeah, we've seen where it's went wrong. So as usual, on the morning of the game, I always put out my poll on Twitter, which is basically just to get a feel of how everyone's feeling going into the match. So 31%, so 31.8% voted that Aberdeen would win, 12.8% reckoned it would be a draw, and 45.3% reckoned Rangers would win, and 10.1% voted for Barron running riot, question mark. So yeah, it was a bit of a closer poll than usual. Normally it's around about 80 or 90% for the Rangers win, you tend to find, but 45%, that's not a lot reckoning Rangers would win, and a lot did reckon that Aberdeen would win there. No, obviously, majority of people voting in these are Rangers fans, but you do get obviously fans from other teams that do come across it due to algorithms and so forth. But yeah, 31.8% reckoned that Aberdeen would win. Now, I guess that shows you where we are as a team at the minute, I think, personally. But yeah. Now, I watched the majority of the first half back via highlights because I unfortunately had a prior engagement on the Wednesday. But I did see the second half. And from what I could see from the game, being completely honest, Aberdeen weren't phenomenal. You know, they were good at moving the ball around, and at times when they were putting pressure on, they were doing quite well. But it wasn't. We've been up to Pittodrie before against worse Aberdeen sides, and they've really peppered us, and I didn't really see that at all. Now, going into this game, I said this would make or break our season. And I know it's early on in the season. There could be time to claw things back. Yes, blah, blah, blah. I do stand by that. You know, I thought that the results would define us this season. It's a big test. I say a big test. Come on, let's be honest here. It's a test, but it's not the biggest test. Going to Parkhead's always going to be the biggest test. You know, even playing them at Ibrox is still going to be a big test. But no disrespect to Aberdeen, and you know Aberdeen are second for a reason. They have started this season phenomenally well. Taylor's got them playing to a fantastic system. They're using players to their strengths, playing a very good formation, a 4-2-3-1. Yeah, at least somebody can get something out of players from that formation. But you know they do deserve to be where they are, and they do. Do I think they will retain that position later on in the season? Who knows? When it comes to January and you're playing games on a Tuesday night or like Wednesday night, you know, against other teams in the league, you don't know. You don't know what's going to happen when they do have their first defeat of the season. But you know what? They're in a position to be able to, you know, have that. You know, they went to Parkhead, they were 2-0 down, and they clawed it back to 2-2. And actually, if we're being honest, they could have won the game. They had a goal that was disallowed, which it should have been disallowed, but they know how to find a bit of spirit, guts, determination, and want to get something out of a game, even if they are 2 goals down. Not the same, I could say, for us. Anyway, with the game, I would say we started brightly. You know, Dessers had a decent chance early on, did everything right. Butland thumps it forward. Dessers kind of kills the ball with a great touch and spreads it out to McCausland, who from the right cut in, laid it back off to Dessers, who still had a little bit to do. He takes a couple of decent touches. I think one was a mistake, but he managed to pull it off. And the touches take him away from the defenders, gets a shot away on the angle, and Devlin slides in and gets a crucial block to stop the shot heading goal bounds. That was a good move from us. It was good defending as well from Aberdeen. But then we started to drop off a little bit in that half. But then Aberdeen, I thought Aberdeen would come out the traps a little bit more, but no, they were a little bit more organised in their press and their attack. They were really looking to take advantage of set piece chances. Like they picked up a free kick, kind of about, I want to say it was about 25, 30 yards out. And it was blasted just wide, but it was at the right height for the postage stamp, but it just went past the post. So you can see they've been working on a lot on the training ground. Now, they started to go into the game a bit more. We weren't necessarily terrible, but we had dropped off a bit, but we weren't really offering much. There were some good little bits of link-up play, little good bits of passing, but they broke down mainly. But then Aberdeen's inevitable goal came. They were targeting the left, all right, of course, which they would, because most teams with any sense of tactical nuance would, because our weakest kind of link there defensively, generally speaking, is James Tavernier. And this isn't me just hating on Tavernier here. This is just kind of fact in recent times. Now, don't get me wrong, he has got a little better over the past few games. I think because obviously he was out injured kind of pre-season, and he's not had a proper pre-season. He's been getting back into things slowly. I think that he's only really getting up to speed now, but he still isn't the same James Tavernier that we had at the club before. He's definitely lost a yard or two, and even in an attacking sense, he's not all fully there. But yeah, the ball kind of, Tab's area was exploited. Ball fired into the area. It's headed across the area, and Devlin, who's completely unmarked, smashes it home with a great finish. Now, frustratingly, the header across the area was actually a shot that was mistimed. So that's obviously a little bit of luck in there. But for me, the worst part of that whole move was Devlin's completely unmarked with another player. There was nobody with him, and he's got his arm up. He's got his arm up, demanding the ball about 3.5 seconds before the cross is made. And nobody picks him up despite him putting his arm up, going, I want it. That's schoolboy stuff. That's poor. That's very poor. So, of course, we put ourselves on the back foot. Aberdeen then get a little bit of confidence. They press again. Ball fired in. Suter looks to have got a strong head on it. Ball goes out wide, and Sockler goes down under the challenge from Casemiro. Beaton is then spoken to by VAR, as there appeared to be a handball in the box. Now, no Aberdeen player screamed for a handball. No Rangers player looked, the crowd didn't even see anything, so it's understandable that the ref, John Beaton, didn't see anything. I was a bit perplexed, I'll be honest. Then you see the VAR replay, and yeah, it's clear as day. The ball comes in, and it comes off Suter's arm. It looked at first from the angle from behind, it might have deflected off Suter's head onto his arm, but no, you see it from the other angle, and it's clearly just off his arm. You can see it's one of those that Suter's, you can see the ball coming in, he shut his eyes and went to stick his head on it, and it's just mistimed, and he's got it onto his arm. One of those, it is a penalty, and the hill is looking a little bit harder to climb. Now, McGrath sets up, puts the ball on the spot, and he's not a bad player. Not a bad player. Takes the penalty, and it's a great save from Butland. It was going to his low to his right hand side. Butland doesn't just save it; he gathers it as well. I think that's something that Jack Butland's been working on. That's two penalty saves in a row now, I think, which is good considering he's never really saved many in his career. I think he maybe saved one before he came to Rangers. I think he was never known for being a penalty save expert. So I think, again, that's something good from our goalkeeping coaching team, because that's something we've always had over the years. We've had keepers that save penalties. Obviously Alan McGregor, a big one. Stefan Kloss was, pretty decent at saving the odd penalty as well, before that. So yeah, we have had, some good penalty shot stoppers. And I think Alan McGregor was one of the best. I really do. Remember in the Champions League against, was it Napoli? Was it 2 in a row? That was a whole mess, though, the whole retake thing, and that was crazy. But still, it's a pity he couldn't do it in the Europa final. But yeah, I won't go there today. We're scarred enough today. No, that was a let off for us, and something that really should give you the motivation to go and press for an equaliser. Now, don't get me wrong, we had a little great attack after that. McCausland was a bit unlucky with a drive down the wing, and he played a great ball in, which was going to Dessers, but the defender had kind of got in the way, kind of deflected it, but it was going in the bottom corner. But Mitov, luckily for Aberdeen, Mitov was equal to it and managed to read where it was going, because if he had spent a second longer thinking about that, it would have been in the back of the net, which would have been great for us. But one of those, it wasn't going to be our night. Now halftime was approaching, and it looked like we'd equalised with a fantastic goal. Now it was a great break to the byline by Bajrami, played across the area into the path of McCausland, who just fires it home. Flag went up, VAR reviewed and showed it as offside. Now, the images that were presented on television, the images they use in Scotland are absolutely terrible at times. Now, it is very likely that the move is offside, but the angle that they've used doesn't prove anything. Now, this is something that has even been mentioned by the Behind the Whistles pod, who do give some good insight into some of the things and some of the limitations with the technology, because realistically, when you're kind of scanning through footage looking for that kind of pass, that kind of frame as the ball's being played, we don't have one television broadcast stuff is at most, at best, 1080p HD, or 1080i sometimes. Now, it's not even 60 hertz either, so that the frame rate is a lot lower. It's not 60 FPS, sorry, not hertz. I'm getting the wrong thing completely. You need a higher frame rate to really break down when you're slowing something down, because instead of slowing something down and you can kind of see where it's going from, it's juddering when you're kind of freezing it. So it's like this frame's missing because of the frame rate so low. So let's say, for example, there's 25 frames per, second. It's not going to get all of what's happening. So a lot of the time when the ball's being played, they can't get that exact frame, that exact moment when the ball's played. So sometimes it's a second or two after, sometimes it's a second or two before. I say second, that's the wrong, amount of time. That'd be too much, but you kind of get where I'm coming from. Now, the angle doesn't tell you that it's offside. From the angle, it looks like they're level, I'll be honest. But I know that some people have looked at the St Mirren game, obviously from from only a week ago, where you had Olyasana called for offside, which he was offside. When you do look at the game, when you look at it from the television camera that's dead on, he is off before the ball's played. Even a second before, he's off. But when you look at it from the other angle, the angle that's down towards the goal, he looks onside as the ball's being played. So this is the problem with the way that we perceive things. Now, I don't know who. I think the people that do the recording for the football, is it might be Sunset Vine. I think I swear to it, it could be a different company now, but they're normally the kind of wholesale kind of provider for Sky, for Premier Sports, for BBC Scotland, and I don't know if it's them that present the angles. The director at the time will say, use that angle, that shows that, when there are other angles you can use. Now, I'm sure in VAR they have different angles they can use, but we don't always see what they exactly see. But the image that they did draw the lines on is the image that is the one where you can't really see it. It was a bit of a silly image to use, but again, that might have been the only image they had, which again says a lot about the technology, a lot about what we need to do, because we don't have automatic offside in Scotland. If we were to bring that in, which again would be another cost, but that would help greatly, because it would eliminate a lot of these kind of things where you look at them and you go, I can't tell if that's offside or not. It's more inconclusive than anything else. And when it's inconclusive, you got to give the benefit of the doubt to the attacker, haven't you? Really. But again, before before anything, the linesman did put the flag up, so they've probably gone with the linesman's decision. Um, and gone, right, it's not clear and obvious that it's not offside, maybe. I don't know. But they've drawn the lines on there. They have tried to challenge it, but they've drawn the lines. And according to them, it is offside. But that's the problem. And it's not us necessarily, it's other teams are affected with the same thing as well, where there are poor camera angle placement. There are sometimes other angles available that just aren't being used. And why? We need to start asking those questions. Why, for the love of goodness? Why are we so poor in our delivery of this stuff? Because this is harmful to the officials. It's harmful to them because they're accused of being, cheats and all sorts, which, I don't believe there's any sort of conspiracy. You guys know what. I don't think Rangers fans believe that there's any sort of conspiracy whatsoever, but obviously there are fans of another team that do believe that there's decisions that go against them every week because there's an ingrained persecution complex where they can't walk down the road without chasing an ambulance. But there's also, we're seeing it now from a few of the Aberdeen fans as well. They're kind of getting caught up in that bandwagon, especially when John Beaton was announced as the official for the game. And it's sad to see now, every fan base has their fair share of moon howlers. That goes without saying. But yeah, you know, the league don't help themselves. And especially when you see Neil Doncaster's pay has gone up to £453,000. Some of that pay rise could have gone towards maybe helping, with better equipment. But what do I know? He's been in that job for what, about a decade now, is it? Unopposed, and his salary's doubled. What's he really done for the game? Yes, more money is probably brought in via TV now, but when you break it all down with inflation and everything, and I think the value per game is less now than what it was before. But anyway, I'm drifting off on a tangent because I clearly don't want to talk about this Aberdeen match, but yeah. Anyway, second half, we did have some substitutes. Now, obviously, when you look at the team, the shape, we didn't deviate from our usual shape at all. We kept with that 4-2-3-1. Something I didn't really talk about at the top of the show. It was, obviously we saw Raskin, McCausland, Bajrami, Lawrence was back in the side. We saw Casemiro at left back, which kind of, I think he moved a couple of times from centre back to left back, but anyway, yeah, it wasn't a necessarily unexpected team, but of course it was good to see kind of Tom Lawrence back in there. But Lawrence has missed a few games, so he's probably not up to the standard or the speed that we saw him before he got injured against FCSB. I thought McCausland looked quite sharp in the first half. I really did. Don't get me wrong, not a lot came off, but he was one of the few trying. The same with Bajrami. Now, obviously, Bajrami gets our equaliser, and that all came from him himself. That you could see that some of our press and break looked very disjointed. There was somebody highlighted on Twitter in the first half where we were breaking forward, and there's players around the kind of halfway line that are just jogging forward. What is that all about? We're not spreading ourselves. We're not trying to find the space, pull the defenders away, create gaps. We're not doing the basics, and it's something that's really frustrating me with our press. That's why it's so disjointed. We can look at Cyril Dessers and say he's not in form at the minute. It's not working for him, but you can't fully blame him because he's not necessarily getting the service, because he's to blame for some of it, of course. When he's looking for a ball, he seems to just stop and hang back a little bit rather than drive into the space where the ball should be played to. That's something we've noticed a lot from him in recent times, but we're just not seeing a cohesive team performance in a break. And it's something that's really frustrating me at the minute. Now, at half-time, McCausland did come off for Sterling. Now, I think that might have been just to stabilise any threats that Aberdeen might pose. But again, I don't think McCausland would be the one I would have taken off, but it's one of them. I didn't fully see the first half, so maybe he drifted out more than, what I'd seen. But what I'd seen of him, he looked fairly decent, but yeah. Anyway, I did mention the goal and the equaliser. It was a great goal, because Rami did it all by himself. Out the left, cut in, took Devlin on, went past another two defenders and buries it. A class goal from a class act. That Bajrami's going to be a fantastic player for us in the future. We've got to make sure we nurture him and make sure that we don't suppress him and his abilities, because there's so many players that come to this club that have got talent, class, and we tell them to play differently and not utilize it. And I just hope that doesn't happen, because obviously we're playing him out on the left because at the minute we kind of need to because of injuries to Cortez and other players and Matondo. But I just hope we don't thwart what he has and almost drive it out of him, because that happens to too many players here. But you know what? Bajrami stepped up and got the goal. But then, sadly, it just summed up the game a little bit. He had a drive into the box and then just lost the ball and just went out, which was a shame because he very rarely puts a foot wrong. But I guess that, you know, it was one of them nights. I don't think anybody was really performing too well, but great goal by Bajrami, absolutely fantastic. But at that point, when you've equalised, you know, you've saved a penalty, you think, are we going to up the ante and win the game now? Are we going to really drive on and get that winner? Nah, did we hell? Did we hell? And this is the thing that really irritates me. Now, obviously, we made a few more substitutes as the game was kind of wearing on. Jeff Day came on, who didn't start the game. I think that Clement was looking at Casemiro as being a little bit more physical than Jeff Day, but Jeff Day has been a bit more physical of late. I know earlier in the season he didn't look. There was a couple of games he didn't look so strong. I think against Kilmarnock might have been one, but I think Clement looked at Casemiro as somebody that might just be a little bit stronger in the challenge, but hey, it didn't work. And 76 minutes in, Hadji came on for Lawrence. One of the real things that did irritate me, which I'll get to in a little bit, was the last substitute we made. But looking at Aberdeen, they made all their changes at the right time. They're very, very proactive, not reactive, and you know, they brought on players like Peter Ambrose, Leighton Clarkson, and obviously brought on players like Paul Varese, who actually he made a difference. He really did. And of course, they brought on Shaden Morris, who of course scored the goal. They brought him in for Duke, and they were invigorated when they brought on their subs, and they really were. Now, one thing I did notice where their goal came from, the eventual winner, all came from about 3 phases before, which was a free kick to Aberdeen. Now, it was a ball in by McGrath, headed partially away, then it smashed goalwards by it was smashed goalward. I think it was Palvacera who hit it, who again was one of the subs. He was making a good bit of difference for Aberdeen. Now the annoying thing is the fact their goal comes from that free kick. There was still points where we just failed to just clear the ball properly. Aberdeen then just kept regaining possession, pumping the ball in. We'd clear it, and then it looked like we were going to break. It looked like we were going to have a 3-on-1, but we just couldn't do it. We lost the ball again. Then the ball was pumped in, and it was pumped out to McKenzie, who gets the byline, plays it across. Tav's there. Tav is there, and he gets a foot on it, and it does nothing but deflects the cross across to Devlin, who gets to fire in a shot from the tight angle, kind of bobbles along the line, hits off the post and out. Oh, well, by the way, while Tav is just watching the ball, not even trying to get in there to try and, you know, block anything. And it comes out to Morris, who doesn't miss and just smashes it home, dead and buried. That goal came from an Aberdeen free kick 3 phases before, where we just could not clear our lines, and they were really pinning us in and pressing us. And that was the first time in the game where they really did that. They hadn't really done that the whole game, which I guess makes it a bit more annoying, because Aberdeen are a good side. They are. You can see it from them this year, and they're deserved of where they are in the table. But they're nothing special. They're just very organised and work together very well. Just shows you what you can do when you bring a manager in, and you know you've only got a little bit of time to work with players, and you're getting instant results from them. Something that Clement doesn't necessarily believe in, because you know obviously that was kind of that for the game. We were dead and buried. Tav had a late header which went wide. That was it. But Clement's comments after the game, you could have played bingo. Clement bingo. You know what he's going to say. It's the usual. We got players here at the club that are, getting used to relationships, getting used to this. Oh, I don't want to hear it anymore, Philippe. Philippe, nobody wants to hear it. We are sick to death of hearing it. I think Philippe Clement is a good manager. I don't think he's. You look at his track record. He's done very well. He's won league titles. He's won trophies at different clubs. Yeah, it didn't quite go well for him at Monaco. You can see why they brought him in here. You can. But what he's saying is starting to wear thin. And it is. It's really wearing thin. I turn off a lot of what I hear now. I used to take a lot of notes through the press conferences. I'm sick of hearing it now. I'm sick of hearing the same things. What is he going to say in January? Oh, these players are just playing together. They've just started to play, blah, blah, blah. I don't want to hear it. I really don't want to hear it. That was a game that made or broke. I can't even say it. That was a game to make or break our season. And for me, it broke it. That's it. We're 9 points behind, not just Celtic, but Aberdeen now. Don't get me wrong. Do I still think we'll finish second? I think we will. But it depends not just on Aberdeen, but it depends on us. There's a side to it. I just don't see us going on a winning run now. The only positive you could take from that game was we doubled our away goal tally for the season because we were on one away goal going into this game. Now we've got two. Whoop-de-doo, eh? Whoop-de-doo. Now, obviously, we are playing Motherwell tomorrow, Sunday the 3rd of November, 3 p.m. kickoff at Hampden. How's this one going to go? I personally think it's going to be a 1-0 extra time win for Rangers. I really do. We're very goal shy at the minute. I just don't see us doing too much. We've won 3 and lost 3 of our last 6 games. Motherwell have won 4 and lost 2 in the last 6. They're in better form than us. If you go into specific Motherwell stats, Motherwell obviously beat us in March, and that was their only win over us in 21 meetings since beating them 2-0 in the last League Cup semi-final in 2017, which is crazy, really. We, as a team, have won 9 out of 17 League Cup meetings with Motherwell, who've only won 4. So, obviously history says something there. Motherwell, they've only actually won the League Cup once in 1950 when they beat Hibs 3-0. And we, of course, on the flip side of that, won our last League Cup, our 28th League Cup title, when we beat Aberdeen 1-0 in December last year. Can't believe that's nearly a year. Motherwell last reached the League Cup final in 2017, and they lost 2-0 to Celtic after beating Rangers in the semi-final. Yep, that was a great year, 2017, wasn't it? Going into this one, team-wise, Ross McCausland might not make it. No, I don't know if at half-time against Aberdeen, if that's the reason he was taken off. I guess it's possibly likely, but there wasn't any murmurings at the time about McCausland. But Václav Černý is allegedly back. Now, I do believe there's a possibility it was a virus that he had. I guess it could be. We did hear, I did hear earlier in the day of the game that Černý didn't travel. Spent a bit of time trying to verify it through a few people, and nobody really had an answer. But it did appear that Černý didn't travel, and of course that was a big loss for us at Pittodrie. Some slight positives for us, I guess. Matondo and Yilmaz are back in training, and they'll be assessed before Sunday, so we probably won't see him for another couple of months. Motherwell do have a few fitness struggles. Paul McGinn is out, I believe, for the game. One of the McGinn brothers, Paul. Stephen O'Donnell misses out as well. Tony Watt's back in the squads with Liam Gordon. Obviously, Tony Watt missed the last game because he couldn't face Dundee United, as that's his parent club. He's only on loan to Motherwell at the minute. It looks like, as well, So we've heard the name Lennon Miller a lot. It's a lot of people are touting Lennon Miller to have a good future and hopefully one at Ibrox. If you're listening, Rangers, it looks like he'll be captaining the side. 18 years old, and he'll be captaining the side. That's incredible. That really is. So fair play to Lennon Miller. Because of course McGinn and vice captain O'Donnell are both missing, so it is going to have to go with another player. And you know what? That's a big responsibility. Cup semi-final to be captain for. So not fair play to him. He's a very good footballer, and I really do hope we don't let him slip through. But yeah, th- this game could go either way tomorrow. We could lose, we could win 4-0, or scrape a 1-0. I think it's one of those three scenarios, which doesn't really give you any insight, does it? But yeah, in our last 10 meetings with Motherwell, we've won 8. I think drawn 1, lost 1, scored 26 goals, and kept, I think, 3 clean sheets. For Motherwell, of course, in the last 10 meetings, their one win came, of course, in March at Ibrox, their first one in 21 years. They've scored 10 goals against us and kept no clean sheets. So if you're a betting person, you'd imagine we'll score something tomorrow. But in our form at the minute, we don't score many goals. We are terrible at the minute. And the one thing that was going our way this season was the fact that we weren't conceding many goals. Outside the Old Firm, we'd only conceded 1 for about, in the first like 5 games or something. But now we're starting to leak at the back. So yeah, we haven't even got that at the minute. Team wise, well, it wouldn't surprise me if we see Proper come back into the back lineup. But you know what? I just don't see Clement changing anything tactically. Now, don't get me wrong, is a cup semi-final the best place to start changing things tactically? Probably not. So we probably would keep the same system. Can we beat Motherwell with that system? Yeah, I think so. But it's going to be a tight game. Motherwell going to be up for it. But I have to say, Kettlewell, I did see a little bit of him chatting to the press earlier. Was it earlier today? Oh, it was yesterday, I think it was. Yeah. And he does. He says he knows what Rangers are capable of, and he knows we're still a threat. He does say a win would represent a massive upset. So he's very focused on treating us the same way as you treat us normally, which yeah, they'll try and stifle us. They'll try and frustrate us. It'll be a typical kind of cup match at a neutral venue. It's going to be one of them. For me, it's going to be a 1-0 extra time win for us. I think normally a team like Motherwell would wear themselves down in the last 20 minutes of the game, but I just don't think we've got enough in us at the minute I just think we have enough in us to really just get through that. I just think it'll be extra time when they are dead on their feet that we'll be able to do something. It's just something I feel in my gut, to be fair. But yeah. Of course, the game will be shown at the London branch. So the London branch will be at the Bermondsey Beer Keller in central London on Tooley Street, just under London Bridge. And speak to them because I had Harvey on the last pod, and he said they're doing a nice 2-for-1. If you're a member of the London branch on some of their pints, so do join. It will save you a lot of money in the long run. But yeah, speak to the guys there at the London branch. Absolutely good people. They really are good people, and you get I chat with all sorts of people there. You've got English Rangers fans, you've got Rangers fans that are there on holiday. They are really good people. And yeah, do head down if you are in London. Head down to Tooley Street, the Bermondsey Beer Keller for RFCSA London at the London branch. They will be showing the Motherwell Rangers game. Now, before I go, there'll be a little bit of an announcement next week for the pod. So the pod will be there'll be some good things coming the way of the pod, and so yeah, do listen out, and there will be an announcement. Don't forget to follow the Rangers Journal. I do feature over on the Rangers Journal, and the announcement is involving the Rangers Journal. So yeah, do follow them. Do like them on Twitter at the Rangers Journal. They're on Facebook as well. They're on TikTok. They're on YouTube. They have some great content, and they do a lot of live pods. I do feature on at least a pod a week at the minute, and yeah, do like them, do follow them. They've got some great articles that come out sometimes as well, and they're all round good guys. So if you want more Rangers content, Do follow them. Right. I've done about 35 minutes of talking, so I'll let you guys enjoy the rest of your weekend because yeah, we don't really want to be thinking more about the Aberdeen game anymore, do we? I could just actually, just as I'm speaking now, I can hear fireworks going on outside. Of course, for a lot of people, it is their bonfire night tonight, isn't it? Because it's the Saturday. So yeah, if you're having a bonfire night, if you're having a bonfire, make sure you do it safely and enjoy. Can you hear that? Can you hear the fireworks? Oh, it's all stopped now. Of course, it's stopped now that I've stopped talking. But yeah, whatever you're up to, stay safe. Hopefully, if you're off to the game tomorrow, hopefully you enjoy it. And hopefully, we're in a cup final. Personally, there's a lot of chat on Clement at the minute. I'll be honest with you, he's not going anywhere. And I think we've got to get used to that for now, unless things get really catastrophic and we slip down to fourth or fifth in the table. But that doesn't bear thinking about, does it? Anyway, guys, I will let you go. Enjoy the rest of your evening. Enjoy the game tomorrow. And don't forget, we are the people. Chitty bye.